with a Glock, I can't really rock. Teardrop on my homie fit, he got a body. No DM, I'm her MCM on Instagram. My skin beat up of the color, inside whip is really jet. Yeah, I won't rock with a Glock, I can't really rock. Teardrop on my homie fit, he got a body. No DM.
Out of them at free will.
Okay.
So you can see the timeline, and then they aren't drawn in the same group, because ultimately leads to a Champions League final if you do well with them going head to head. And one of the interesting things here is that because, as I mentioned, you can play through the stories at free will. There are certain times when the stories will cross over and intersect, and we have what we call perspective scenes. So this is a scene that was seen through Alex's eyes. If you play Danny's story, you will see this scene through his eyes. So it's a nice, interesting where they kind of cross paths, so you kind of see the different perspectives.
I see.
Yeah.
So each of the characters has their own story?
Yep, absolutely. So it's all fully fleshed out
Yeah.
story that you can play at your own pace or hop in and out.
I see. And you can start. You can have more than you could have them all three open at once.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. And you can freely hop in at any point and in and out at any point.
That's interesting. That's a pretty big diversion from the previous
absolutely. And
journeys.
yeah, it is. And that's one of the things we want to do with each iteration of the journey is provide new and interesting ways to play. You know, not just the kind of formulaic A to B kind of journey. So we've introduced new ways to play throughout, and this is kind of the culmination of that with 3 consecutive stories that you can kind of, as I say, hop in and out of at your own free will.
Interesting. So what's being set up here?
So this is where Alex and Danny kind of learn that they're not in the Champions League groups. Danny will actually face his brother in the Champions League group, so that sets up a nice kind of dynamic between them. But if we skip forward from this, what we'll see is Alex actually going to the Real Madrid dressing room for the first time, and he's quite, if you remember from the journey too, it was his childhood dream to play for Real Madrid, and now he's actually realizing that, and you can see he's a little bit awestruck when he kind of walks in here. And one of the interesting things this time is that we take Alex to Real Madrid, is that we can be more specific with the players around him, because previously we had the choice of which team you could go to, so it kind of limited how much we could do with the real players. Because he now goes to Real Madrid, we can do a lot more with that. So one of the new features we have is a mentor feature. So when you go to Real Madrid and you're training for the first time, you're approached by the trainers, and basically they offer you to train with one set of the players or the other, so you can kind of pick who you want to play with. So the likes of Bale, Benzema, or versus Modric, Marcelo, that kind of thing. And the way you interact with those, it will influence the way you grow your players. So you will have mentor challenges. So you might have a passing challenge against Modric that will grow Alex's passing abilities. Or if you choose the other side, you may have a shooting drill against Benzema. And then one of the other interesting things is when you actually go into game, you can play just as your mentor group. So we've now got 4 ways to play. So you can play locked to Alex Hunter, you can play as the whole team, you can play as mentors, or you can play multiplayer. And one of the other interesting things, as you're about to see here, is we've kind of embedded mini games within the kind of environment. So what you see here is a pre-game ritual that Real Madrid actually do. And this is Alex Hunter before the game, playing with his mentor group. He starts off in the middle. If you manage to get possession, he goes on the outside. So you can see we've kind of embedded that experience. And like I say, because we're locked to Real Madrid, we can do a lot more with these real players. So you interact a lot more with the real players, you get to speak to them a lot more, and you, as I say, you kind of train with them a lot more. And then throughout the journey, we've got little kind of snippets like this where there's kind of interactive skill training within certain environments. I don't want to spoil it by telling you what those are, but it's just a new an immersive way to kind of bring gameplay to the story that we haven't done before.
Well, you were saying you actually envisioned the journey or Alex Hunter's story as a trilogy back in FIFA 17. And I think the journey has been pretty well received. So it must be nice that it was, so that you could actually see the story through.
Yes, absolutely. Because when you come out with a new mode, you're never quite sure of the feedback. It's something I've always wanted to do because I think it brings a different spin on what you could previously get in FIFA. It kind of takes the action off the pitch. We've always focused on the pitch for obvious reasons. But the journey really kind of allowed us to kind of look behind the curtain into the real life players and what these players go through. And as you can see here, Alex is making his debut for Real Madrid, so a big moment for him. Yeah, so this is going to jump into an actual game here? Yep, it is. So you'll see a little bit of gameplay here. We're playing locked to Alex at this point. And you'll see the mentors will be identified differently. They've got a little red dot over their head so you can see who those mentors are. And one of the things is in gameplay, if you play well with those mentors, you'll actually build up the relationship with those and grow Alex through that as well.
Have there been improvements made under the hood to the animation?
Yeah, so I mean, it's another big year for gameplay, so we've done a lot in gameplay to improve the overall experience. Gameplay is and always will be the core pillar for FIFA. So there's a whole new bunch of gameplay features that support not just the journey, but obviously throughout the game. So we've got active touch system, with a whole new animation system that fundamentally changes the way you trap and kick the ball, which obviously is a big part of football. So a big one there. Dynamic tactics, which adds a whole new level of tactics and tuning to the game, so you can really kind of create your own play style, and also the teams you play against will play in their realistic play style. So Real Madrid will play as Real Madrid. We have 50-50 battles, which is a new system of where two players interact for the ball. It's a lot more physical, a lot more realistic. We've also got timed finishing, which is a new way of shooting, kind of a risk-reward mechanic that gives a little bit more power to the...
This is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed my content, it will be awesome to leave a like and possibly subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next one.